Hey everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our second episode of Let's Collect. Today, let's collect Black Widow. So in our second episode of Let's Collect, we're going to be collecting Black Widow. For those that don't know, which not sure why you'd be watching this if you didn't, Black Widow is Natasha Romanoff, and she is first premiered in 1964 as a villain to Iron Man. Since then, she has become a member of the Avengers, a member of Champions. She's been a near constant presence in the Marvel Universe, although she's actually had relatively few books of her own through that time period and never really a long sustained run. But she's been a major character. She's also been a very major character in the MCU, played by Scarlett Johansson. And kind of similar to her Marvel run, she's been around for a long time but hasn't had her own movie. Well, that's about to change coming up in 2020. So we're going to collect Black Widow because she may be your new favorite character, or maybe just a character you've had for a while, but you don't know where to go. So this is your guide to the key comics, the best stories, and the best covers of Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff. Now, a reminder is when I talk about keys, I'm talking about her keys. So we won't be mentioning like Yelena Belova, I think the other Black Widow, any keys related to her. It's really just, this is just about Natasha. So it all starts when you're talking about key comics for Natasha with Tales of Suspense number 52, her first appearance. As I said, she first appeared as a villain in the Iron Man comics. This is a big book right now. It's a big book, period, but it's a really big book right now with the movie coming and just all her MCU appearances. If this is a book you want, you're going to have to work to get it if you want to collect it, because right now 7.0s are going for around $2,000, 5.0s for $1,000, and 3.0s are in that $400 to $500 range. So this might be one of those low grades is better than no grades if you're a budget collector like myself. But if you want to collect Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, this is the book that is your grail. Tales of Suspense number 52. Tales of Suspense number 53, her second appearance, is still pretty high, but a lot more attainable. So a nice second place finish kind of thing if you're can't quite afford that Tales of Suspense 52 that you really want. An 8.5 of this book is only going to set you back about $500. A 6.0 is going to be around $200, with 5.0 around $150. So that gives you a chance to, this is a book that you actually have a chance to get. It's a little easier to, still a big chunk of change for most collectors, but still a much more attainable book than that first one. And not a bad second prize for the Black Widow collectors out there. After that, I would say there aren't a lot of huge keys involving Natasha. There's lots of important books, but I wouldn't necessarily call them huge keys. But we're going to run through them anyway. So we got three more kind of the big key, what I consider the big key issues. So her first and second appearance. And then we got 5 kind of reasonable keys that you can get fairly easily. And then 5 just other things if you're wanting to be a Black Widow completionist before we get into stories. And number 3 on our key issues list is Amazing Spider-Man, number 86. And this is the debut of her classic costume, the skin-tight black outfit with the belt, all of it. This is the first issue where that appears. And this is actually a pretty reasonable book. You can get a raw copy of this for $50 to $100 in pretty nice grade. An 8.5 is only going to set you back about $200, and a 7.0 is only going to set you back about $100. So this is a book that you can pretty easily obtain. And it is the first, if you want the first time she appears in a costume that looks like the Black Widow we all know and love, this is the book for you. And number 4 on our list is Amazing Adventures, Volume 2, number 1. And this is the first Black Widow solo. And basically this is an Inhumans Black Widow book, but her first solo story is in here. You can get raw copies of this under $50 pretty easily, in pretty nice grade. A 9.4 of this book only runs about $150. And like I said, this is her first solo story. And last but not least, of my five biggest keys is Avengers number 111. And this is her first appearance as a member of the Avengers when she joins the Avengers. This is another very attainable book. You can get raws $15 to $30 in a nice mid to high grade. A 9.6 of this book's only going to run you about $150 for a slab copy. So again, three of these, and really even Tales of Suspense 53, are pretty obtainable for most collectors. That 52 is a little out of reach, but these other 4 are pretty obtainable. 5 other keys you might want to look for. I'll be honest, I had to search a little bit for Black Widow keys, but Black Widow number 1 from 1999, and this is her first completely solo title Black Widow book. It was part of a 3-issue kind of miniseries, part of the Marvel Knights line, and this book will set you back a little more than it used to. It contains the other Black Widow, Yelena Belova's, gosh, I'm probably saying that name wrong and you guys are all going to crush me, but the other Black Widow's first full appearance. She previously appeared in Cameo and Inhumans number 5, I believe, but her first full is in this. There's a variant cover with her on the cover instead of Natasha. But all things said and done, this is also kind of an important Natasha key. As I said, this is the first solo Black Widow title that you can get. Next, the next one on our kind of reasonable keys is Tales of Suspense 64. And this is the first time she actually appears in any sort of costume. It's not the classic costume we know. But prior to this, she was in dresses and outfits and, undercover and stuff. And so this is the first time she appears in kind of a superhero costume. This is not the costume that sticks, but this would be a book that you might want. And this is also attainable for $25 to $50 in mid to high grade raw copies. Next is Avengers number 44, and this is her partial origin. The first time we kind of get an origin for her. And this is a $10 to $30 book in raw copies, and this is all, again, mid-grade books, but you can get these for under $30 without too much trouble if you're looking for this particular book, which is the first time they tried to tell her origin. Her origin has altered a few times over the years. We'll get into that a little bit later, but this is the first time they give a partial origin for Black Widow. Next at number 9 is Black Widow number 4, and I said we were going to talk about updated origins. This was her updated origin back in 2004. This is a $5 to $10 book. This version of the origin didn't really... It's still the basis, sort of, but they also updated it not too many years later in Black Widow Deadly Origin, which was a mini-series, but this was kind of the basis for that, and this is kind of her modern origin, kind of where it starts. And then at number 5 on our list of reasonable keys, Avengers number 43. I stretched a little bit on this one. This is actually the first appearance of Red Guardian, which is her husband. I don't know if you want to call this a Black Widow key or not, but it is one that's going pretty good. Right now it's selling for more than it was. It's more $30 to $60 for raw copies. And that really has to do with rumors that Red Guardian might make an appearance in the Black Widow movie, is what's caused this book to jump. So this book is probably going to come back down after the movie. Even if he appears, a little patience there might be worth it. Same thing with kind of Tales of Suspense 52. A little patience might pay off there. So finally, we got 5 books that I just kind of fun keys that really aren't worth a whole lot, but that you might want to add to your Black Widow collection if you're kind of a Black Widow completionist. First up is Daredevil number 81, which is her first appearance in the Daredevil title. She goes along to be a major part of that run and a major part of that title for a long time, and this is the first time that these two characters interact. that is also a $10 to $20 book all day long. So that's an easily obtainable book. Next is Daredevil 92. And this is the first time that she appears as part of the title for Daredevil. So from 92 to 107, it was Daredevil and Black Widow. They changed the title to Daredevil and Black Widow. At 108, the creators had changed. They decided to go away from that partnership. And it went back to Daredevil only. But for a while, it was Daredevil and Black Widow. And that is the first book where that was the title. Number 3 on our list is Black Widow #1, Volume 3. And this is Homecoming. This is just a kind of a key storyline for her. Kind of a big cover in terms of just like a popular cover for her, but really just kicks off that Homecoming storyline, which is part of that her origin from that number 4 I talked about earlier. It's a 6-issue run, and it's a $5 to $10 book as well. That Daredevil 92 is an under $10 book that I was talking about a minute ago. I forget the price on that one. Next is Champions #1 from 1975. And this is the first appearance of the Champions team. It's changed a bunch over the years, very different members nowadays. But the first team, she was a founding member of the Champions in this issue. So that's a fun book if you'd like to get it. Another $10 to $25 book for most raw copies. And finally, another Black Widow #1. There's been, I think we're up to 8 Black Widow series at this point. No, 7, I guess. 7 Black Widow series at this point, although none of them have ran very long. For the most part, the first 4 were miniseries of 3 to 6 issues. This represented her first kind of ongoing. This is from 2014. This went 20 issues, and then when Marvel did one of their relaunches, which they did, it didn't end. It just relaunched as Volume 6, and went another 12 issues before it ended. So a 32-issue run. This represents the longest, those 2 series combined represents the longest continuous Black Widow series. So that is why I put this #1 as the last kind of fun book that you might want to collect. There's lots of others, obviously, but these are just a few of the ones, and that's a cover price book all day. So we've covered the key books. Let's talk about key storylines for Black Widow. So this one's tough for me. If you notice, I haven't put any books up. I have never collected Black Widow. I've read a few of the stories digitally and that kind of stuff. But I don't feel like I know enough to tell you guys what are her key stories from my perspective, at least. So I've had to pull a lot of stuff from the internet, look at other people's opinions, that kind of thing. Try to find some consensus on what are the best Black Widow stories. So I'm giving that caveat up front. But I tell you what, it has given me, compiling this list, has given me a lot of things that I want to read just based on the description of some of these stories. They look like they'd be a lot of fun. So I'm going to give you the list of what the interwebs are claiming are the best Black Widow stories. If you know Black Widow stories that are better than the ones I list, let me know. If you feel like I've completely missed the boat on some of these stories, let me know. And let everyone else know what are the best Black Widow stories. But this is what I have in terms of key storylines for Black Widow. The first one I have listed is The Finely Woven Thread, and that collects issues 1 through 6 of that 2014 Black Widow run. Just considered maybe one of the best storylines. Like I said, I haven't read it, so I won't go too much into details on it. But this is one that's comes highly recommended everywhere I found it. People talked about it as a Black Widow story that you should definitely check out. Next one is that Homecoming storyline we talked about a couple of times already. That was a 6-issue run in 2004. Basically, it starts off, Natasha's kind of giving up being the Black Widow. She doesn't want to, she's kind of getting out of the business, only something happens. She's forced to return to Russia and deal with her past and everything else. It's considered a classic Black Widow story. So that is my second choice on the list for things that you should read if you want to read Black Widow. Next up is the first trade of the 2010 Black Widow series, The Name of the Rose. Just another one that gets rave reviews. It's a great Black Widow story. I'm not going to go into a lot of details on these, like I said, because I haven't really read these. I'm just got summaries, but seems like one that has consistently high reviews. So definitely a place you'd want to check out in terms of Black Widow. Next is the first of that 2016 series, Shield's Most Wanted. Basically, she's dealing with her past and things that come out. She's being hunted by Shield. So this story deals with that kind of thing and her trying to clear her name. So definitely sounds like a really cool story that you want to check out if you get the chance. And finally, Web of Intrigue from the mid-'80s. This appeared in Marvel Fanfare 10 through 13. And until some of these recent storylines that have come out in the last decade or so, this was considered the Black Widow story by most people. It had been reprinted in a bunch of different versions. It was considered the greatest story of all time. It's got great George Perez art. So definitely something that is worth your time. As a bonus, I'm going to throw in one more trade, which is Marvel Knights Black Widow, the collection. And this collects 3 different 3-issue miniseries that first 1999 one, the Itsy Bitsy Spider is what that one's called, and 2 other Black Widow storylines. It's considered a great run that you should definitely check out, and you're actually getting 3 stories in one trade. So another good place to go if you're looking for good Black Widow reading. And finally, I got 2 little single issue stories that people recommended a couple different times that I found. One is from Amazing Adventures number 5 and To All a Good Night. And basically, a friend comes to her to try to help a kid who's basically being hunted by some killers because he was a witness, and she tries to protect him. Not necessarily the happiest story, I think, in Marvel history, but a really good one. So one you might want to check out. And then finally is Secret Avengers number 20 Encircle. And if you're wondering where they got the idea to have them go back in time and fix things for Endgame, this is the book for you. Basically, the entire Secret Avengers team, other than Natasha, are killed. So she has to go back and try to save them, but she can't do it in one big thing. So she has to try to alter events, multiple events, in order to guide history toward a path where her teammates survive. So this is the book that kind of inspired that Endgame storyline. So if you want to know where that's at, this is the book for you to read. So that is Secret Avengers number 20 Encircle. Finally, I'm going to pop up 5 covers and actually I'm cheating, I got 6 covers this time, but 5 Black Widow covers that you might want to collect just for awesome Black Widow covers. I will state flat out, there are tons of really cool Black Widow covers. I had a hard time trying to narrow this down. I started to try to look for value and that kind of stuff. Eventually, I just went with ones I really liked that I saw other people listing as, great Black Widow covers. But there were literally tons of different directions you could go. But these are ones I really liked, so this is kind of my list. First up is Daredevil number 83, done by John Romita Sr. I thought about including that ASM story cover from earlier, the ASM, 86 from earlier. Yeah, get the number right. But she's only in silhouette on that one. It is a really cool cover, but she's only in silhouette, so I decided to include a different John Romita cover. I really like this. This was cool. Her and Daredevil going at it. I just thought it was a fun cover. And I wanted to have a kind of classic Romita Black Widow cover included. Next up is Black Widow Deadly Origins, number 2, the Addie Granoff cover. Another fantastic cover. I'm a big fan of Addie Granoff. Just a cool Natasha in the snow, sexy spy kind of cover that I really like. So that one you might want to check out. Next up, I have Black Widow number 13 from that 2014 run. This is a Phil Noto cover. I will say I love this cover. It did stand out to me, but there are if you like Phil Noto's style, any of that 2014 run, he does the cover for all of that. They are all really fantastic. This is just the one that stood out above the rest for me, But number 1 is fantastic. Number 2 is fantastic. There's a couple other ones in there, but this is the one I went with, number 13, from by Phil Noto. Let's see how many I got left. That was 3 covers. I got 3 more to go. Next is Infinity Countdown, Black Widow number 1. This is just from last year, in 2018. This is a Yasmin Putri cover. I really like this cover. I don't really have like anything special about it. This is a cover price book. It's not really a cover that's taken off. I just really like this cover, so I decided to include it. So I just thought it was a cool play. The gun, everything, the Moscow, the skyline. I just really like this cover. The Infinity Stone. I just really like this one. So that's why I included it. Next, I have a super recent cover. Marvel Tales, Black Widow number 1, the Jen Bartel cover. And I just think this is, in a lot of ways, everything Natasha this is just gorgeous. I think Jen Bartel is a little bit underrated, although she's had some covers take off in the last year. But I just think this is a really good cover. So those are, normally I would stop at 5. I have one more. This is a bonus pick, mainly because I wanted to include it, and I didn't really want to kick any of the others out, but also for my guys, Bear Island and Tacoma Comics. And this is Black Widow, number 1 from the 2016 series. But this is the Fried Pie Bam store exclusive by Stephanie Hans. And this is just gorgeous. It's maybe actually my favorite of any of these covers. I really like Stephanie Hans' work. I'm not obsessed like some of my YouTube colleagues, but this is gorgeous. This would be one I might have to track down just because I really like it. So those are my 6 covers that I did this week. As always, let me know what you think of this series. Let me know if I forgot anything related to Black Widow. And let me know any characters you'd like to see me do one of these breakdowns on going forward. So get out there and let's collect.